What's going on, guys? So I am back here at 6-Star Performance, and today I'm here to get tuned by none other than Junior with Junior Tuned. So I am very excited about that. It's been a long time coming, and as I've said in previous videos, it's been quite some time since my car has truly run at 100%. I recently had an FP Blue turbo installed with a whole bunch of other goodies. If you haven't seen that video, be sure to check that. I'll put it in the cards above. But today I'm going to get on the rollers and see what my car can actually do. I'm not super worried about what numbers I hit, but I should be around 350 wheel horsepower, hopefully, if all goes well. So hopefully we'll hit those numbers. If not, that's fine. As long as my car runs well and it's safe, I am happy. As long as my car is running, we're good to go. So with that being said, let's take a look around and later we'll get on the rollers. What's going on, guys? So I did not want to put out this video without sitting down with you and going over my dyno sheet and also giving you my initial impressions and thoughts on my car's tune as well as my new FP Blue turbo. So I did not film this at 6-Star for a few reasons. Number one, there wasn't a whole lot of space there to really sit down and get in depth with this stuff. And number two, it started pouring down rain and it was also getting dark. So I figured I'd just wait till another day like today and I could sit down, really analyze my dyno sheet, give you my thoughts and opinions on that. So I think this is a great example of why, at least I personally, don't get too hung up on hitting certain horsepower numbers. Now, earlier in this video, I said two things. Number one, I would like to hit 350 horsepower or more. That would have been cool. But the second thing that I said was I ultimately don't care what horsepower I hit, as long as my car runs well and it's safe, and it drives well. To me, that's far more important. I've had tunes in the past where they were similar. I may have hit a slightly lower number than I was hoping for, but the throttle response and the drivability was on point, and it was just out of this world. I've also had tunes that made decent power, but the power band wasn't quite right, or the drivability and the throttle response wasn't as smooth as I would have liked it, and I did not enjoy those tunes at all. So first of all, I wanted to briefly touch on the FP Blue. This is not a full review. I will never review a part that I have not used extensively, but I will give you my initial impressions. My initial impressions are good. I am very happy with the FP Blue, and if you look at my dyno sheet, you'll see that my power comes in sooner. I make more power at the same RPM, and it extends longer, which is really awesome. So not only do I make more top end power, but that power comes in sooner. So my whole power band is, you know, raised, obviously. And that's really, really cool to see. A lot of times when you go with a turbo, you have a choice. You could either have your power come in nice and low and lose some top end power, or you could go for the opposite, which is ultimate top end power, but you lose some low end torque. And for me, this is my daily driver. I live in Pittsburgh. Our roads are a little bit more narrow than they are in the South or the Midwest. So for me, I don't really care to have a big turbo on my daily driver. If I go with a different car in the future or a second car, that might be different. But for me, I'd rather be able to get into my power band quickly and accelerate and be gone instead of, you know, waiting for a turbo to spool up. And bigger turbos are cool. A lot of guys like them. You give you more top end power, which is awesome. But me personally, I'm just not a fan of waiting around for my turbo to spool up to make that power. So the FB Blue is a great option for me because not only did I end up getting more low-end power, but I also made more top-end power as well, which is kind of crazy. And to get that out of the FB Blue is kind of surprising if you've seen it. The FB Blue is in like a stock size housing. It's a little baby turbo, but if you look inside, the compressor wheel is huge. So even though the FB Blue is physically smaller than my 18G is, it made more power, which is ultimately what I am here for. That's what I'm excited about. So my initial impressions of the FB Blue is that it is a very impressive turbo. I would be looking at it if you are considering anything in the ballpark of a 16G, an 18G, or even a 20G. In my opinion, it kind of replaces all three of those, and it gives you low-end spooling with high-end power, which is just kind of unheard of. So that's really, really cool to see. I will give a full in-depth review of the FP Blue probably a few years down the road when I've had more time with it, because I don't believe in reviewing a part that I've just installed. That's all I really have to say about the turbo at this point. I am very happy with it, and I think you will be too. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is me only making 340 wheel horsepower. Now, I have never been a guy who is super concerned about hitting a specific number. Even before I started my YouTube channel, I've never, ever had that mindset. I've always had kind of the opposite mindset where this is my budget, this is my build. I'll go to my tuner. Hey, whatever my car makes, it makes, I'm happy. Like I said, as long as drivability is good, I'm good to go. Yes, I made 340. Yes, that was a little bit lower than I was hoping for. And I want to make it clear, there's nothing wrong with having a target or an idea of what horsepower you want to be at. But for me personally, I'd rather have a car that drives well. So there are a number of factors that go into your car hitting a certain number on the dyno, and that is the biggest reason that I don't really care about numbers too much. You know, you have to consider the altitude, the weather, the time of day. Like if it's hot, you're going to make a little bit less power than if it's cold. You know, what mods are done to your car, what dyno are you on. Mustang dynos read significantly lower than some other dynos out there. They read lower than a mainline dyno and a lot lower than a dyno jet. So it really depends on what dyno you're on. It depends on the tuner. Every tuner is different, and I think this is a huge thing that gets overlooked when guys talk about horsepower. I see guys compare mods, they compare the dynos, they compare whatever else, and more often than not, they don't even talk about the tuner. Different tuners tune differently. Different tuners make power at different points in the band. And that's not to say that one is better than the other. It just comes down to tuner style. Tuning is an art form, and everybody does it slightly differently. So, you know, just because you went to one tuner, you may make more power with them. You may make less power with somebody else. There might be a tuner who will push their car harder than somebody else. The other factor is your location. What is the elevation? I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now. It is 1,000 feet above sea level. So I used to live in South Carolina, and I was 50 feet above sea level. So that is going to be a huge factor in how much power your car can make. Obviously, the lower you are to sea level, the more power you can make, because the air is more dense, and the more dense the air, the more power, obviously. If you paid attention in science class, right? So while 340 is a little bit low, I was on a low reading Mustang dyno. I'm at 1,000 feet above sea level, And from my experience, it seems to me like Junior tunes a little bit more conservatively, which I approve of. I'd much rather have my car make a little bit less power and be reliable and safe than have somebody who's, you know, trying to tune super aggressive and get their name out there, and, you know, my car is unhappy the whole time. Very happy with the turbo that I have. I'm very happy with my tuner. Shout out to 6-Star for having a dyno, because now I don't have to drive to New York to have my car tuned. I will be sure to include all of my modifications done on my old setup with my 18G turbo, along with my current mods with my FP Blue, so that you could kind of compare apples to apples. Junior was the one who tuned my car last year. However, that was on my 18G, and that turbo was not super happy at that time, so I did make less power than I probably could have. But overall, I'm very happy with my new turbo, my new setup, my new external wastegate, which sounds awesome. If there's anything that you want to know, let me know, and I'll answer it if I can. If I don't know the answer, I will try and find it for you. I have had my car for a while, and I've been to multiple tuners. I've had multiple setups at this point, so I try to put out as much information as I can, because that's what this channel's about. I want to share my passion for cars, and I also want to share information to you guys so that you know what's going on. If I'm able to entertain you guys, then that's cool, but if not, then at least you're getting some decent information. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. But, you know, I've been tuning cars. I haven't been tuning cars.